Okay, so I used to work night shift at a small hotel, and this happened about a year ago. But I still think about it all the time because it genuinely freaked me out so bad. And I don't know what the guy's plan was or what he was trying to do, and it honestly makes me feel sick when I remember just how long he was there and that I didn't even realize he wasn't supposed to be there. The hotel was small, only 3 floors and maybe 40 rooms total. It wasn't a busy place. Usually we only had about 10 or 15 rooms filled on weeknights. I worked from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was usually really boring and quiet, which was fine with me. I would just sit behind the desk, do some paperwork, sometimes check the cameras, sometimes watch YouTube on my phone if it was really dead. The lobby wasn't big, just the desk and some couches off to the side with a TV and then some vending machines in the corner. Behind the desk was a little office where I had a computer and a chair and a glass window so I could see the lobby while I sat in there. At night, the front doors locked automatically, and so guests had to buzz in, and I would press a button to let them through. Usually nothing happened after midnight, except the occasional guests coming in late. But one night, this man came in around 11 o'clock, and everything about it still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. He buzzed the door, and I let him in. He looked mid-40s, tall, kind of skinny, but not too skinny. And he was wearing jeans and a baseball cap, carrying a backpack. He walked up to the desk and asked if we had a room for the night. I told him yes and gave him the price, and he nodded and pulled out a card. I swiped it, it went through, and I gave him a key card for room 214 on the 2nd floor. I remember he looked at me for a second too long before he left. He had this kind of blank expression, and his eyes stayed on me for maybe 3 or 4 seconds after I handed him the key. Then he turned and walked off toward the elevator. Nothing about it screamed dangerous right away, but it was enough to make me notice him. After that, I sat back in the chair and played on my phone for a while. Around midnight, I looked up and he was back in the lobby. He didn't come to the desk. He just walked past me and sat down in the lounge area with the couches. The TV wasn't on, but he just sat down facing it. I figured maybe he couldn't sleep or something. Some guests hang out in the lobby sometimes, so I didn't think too much of it. But then after half an hour, I realized he was literally just sitting there doing nothing. He wasn't on his phone or reading. He wasn't even dozing off. He was just staring straight ahead at the blank screen. I got up at one point to grab water from the vending machine. And when I walked across the lobby, I felt him turn his head and watch me the whole way. I didn't look at him directly, but I could feel his eyes on me until I was back behind the desk. It gave me this really uneasy feeling. Around 1 a.m., I was checking the reservation system on the computer because I was bored, and that's when I noticed something weird. I pulled up the occupied room list and saw that room 214 said vacant. I mumbled what the under my breath and double-checked, because I literally just checked this guy in an hour earlier. I thought maybe I made a mistake, so I looked at the check-in logs, and there was nothing for him. No name, no charge, nothing. Then I went into the transaction screen to make sure his card had gone through earlier, and it showed no payments. I remember feeling confused as hell because I swore I swiped his card, and it beeped like it worked, but there was nothing in the system at all. That's when I picked up the phone and called room 214. It rang like 10 times, but no answer. Then I checked the key card entry log, which tells you if the door to that room was open that night, and it showed nothing. No one had entered the room. That's when I realized he never even went to the room after I gave him the card. I looked over into the lounge, and there he was, still sitting there, staring at the TV that wasn't even on. I started to get this awful feeling in my chest. I sat there debating what to do. Part of me thought maybe the system just glitched, but the fact that the room had no entry log and no charge made it pretty clear he wasn't even checked in. I waited another 15 minutes, just watching him. Around 1:30, I walked over and asked if everything was okay. He turned his head and looked at me with no expression, and he told me he just couldn't sleep. Then he turned back toward the TV. I nodded and went back behind my desk, but my hands were shaking. Around 2, I noticed he wasn't sitting in the lounge anymore. My stomach dropped right away because I didn't see him in the lobby at all. I scanned the area, and then I spotted him standing at the end of the hallway by the bathrooms, half hidden in the dark. He was just standing still. I kept glancing up at him, pretending to be on the computer. He stood there for a while and then slowly walked back and sat in the lounge again like nothing happened. I called my manager at home and explained what was going on. She sounded tired and told me to just keep an eye on him and call the police if he did anything threatening. I remember hanging up and thinking that it already felt threatening, but I didn't know what else to do. I checked the security cameras after that. I saw him on the first floor hallway camera. He walked all the way down the hall, stopped at the end, stood there for several minutes, then walked back. Later, he went into the stairwell and stayed in there for about 10 minutes. I don't know what he was doing in there. Every time I looked up from the computer, he was somewhere else, near the vending machines or by the elevators. Once just standing near the corner of the lobby where the light didn't hit well, he was always staring. By 3:30, I couldn't take it anymore, so I called the non-emergency police line and explained that there was a man in the hotel who I didn't think was a guest. They said they'd send someone. While I was waiting, I noticed he moved again, this time closer to the desk. He was standing maybe 15 feet away, just watching me. He didn't blink much, and he definitely didn't speak. He just stared like he had a staring problem. I pretended to type something on the computer, but I was so scared I could hardly breathe. At around 3:50, the buzzer went off, and I thought maybe it was the cops already, but it was just another guest coming back late. I let him in quickly, and the man turned his head and watched the guest walk past. I noticed his eyes follow him the whole way across the lobby. That scared me even more because it was like he was studying him. A few minutes later, the man disappeared again. I checked the cameras and saw him standing outside one of the guest room doors on the first floor, like he was literally just standing there. So that's when I called actual 911. I told them he was outside a guest room and I didn't know what he was trying to do. They said officers were on the way. I kept my eyes glued on the camera feed, and he just stood at the door for about 3 minutes, then slowly walked back to the lobby. When he came back, he walked right up to the desk this time and leaned over the counter. He looked at me and asked if there was any food. His voice was so low it was disturbing. I told him there were vending machines on the corner. He gave a small smile, then walked away. I just sat there staring at the clock and begging the cops to get there. Finally, around 4:10, 2 officers showed up. I let them in and pointed right at him. He was back in the lounge, sitting down. They walked over and talked to him for a few minutes. They asked for his ID and asked him questions I couldn't hear. Then they walked him out. One of the officers came back and explained that the guy wasn't a guest at all. The credit card he gave me was stolen, and he had no bags or a reservation. He had just been pretending so we could get access to the building. They charged him with trespassing and the stolen card. After they left, I sat there shaking until my shift was over. Every time I looked at the cameras, I expected to see him again. The part that messed me up the most was realizing he had been inside the hotel for hours, wandering around and standing outside guest rooms, watching me from different spots. And he was never even supposed to be there. I have no idea what his plan was, but I know it wasn't good. That was the scariest night of my life. My name is Meredith. I'm 24, and I work the night shift at a tiny gas station off County Road 11. It's the kind of place most people don't even notice unless they're out of gas or completely lost. The station is basically a single-room building with 2 pumps outside, a counter, some shelves of snacks, and a coffee machine that never works right. There's 1 security camera in the corner and a single bathroom for customers. Most nights are quiet. Maybe 2 or 3 customers come in between midnight and 5 a.m., and then the morning rush starts. It's boring, but it pays the bills, and I like the solitude. About 3 weeks ago, something started happening that has left me genuinely scared to go to work. It started on a Tuesday. Around 1:15 a.m., a man came in. He was maybe mid-30s, average build, wearing a dark hoodie with the hood up. He didn't buy anything at first. He just stood near the coffee machine, looking at the shelves like he was thinking about something. After a minute, he grabbed a soda and came to the counter. I rang him up and he gave me a $5. He didn't say a word. Not hi, not thanks, nothing. But he stared at me the entire time. Not like a quick glance. Full-on eye contact, unblinking. His eyes were this pale blue color that almost looked gray in the fluorescent lights. It was enough to make my skin crawl. I handed him his change, and he just kept staring for another couple of seconds before finally taking the soda and walking out. I tried to brush it off. We had customers happen. The next night, same time, 1:15 a.m., he comes back. Same hoodie, same pale eyes. This time he bought a candy bar. Same thing. Silent, staring. Only this time, after he paid, he didn't leave. He walked to the back of the store where the bathroom is. The bathroom door shut. I waited and waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. Finally, I walked back and knocked, thinking maybe something was wrong. The door swung open easily. The bathroom was empty. I checked the parking lot through the window. His car was gone. He had just vanished. It freaked me out enough that I checked the security camera after my shift. The footage showed him walking in, buying the candy bar, and walking toward the bathroom. But the next frame just showed the bathroom door swinging closed. He never came out. There was no footage of him leaving. I told my manager about it the next morning. He laughed and said the cameras glitch sometimes. 2 nights later, 1:15 a.m. again, he comes back. Same hoodie. This time he doesn't even pick anything up. He just stands at the end of the counter staring at me. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the pen I was holding. After maybe a full minute, he walked toward the bathroom again. I didn't follow. I just locked the door behind him and called my boyfriend. My boyfriend, Paul, drove over and stayed with me until my shift ended. We checked the bathroom together. Empty. When I got home, I checked the footage online. We have remote access. Same thing. He walks in, walks toward the bathroom, door closes, never comes out. This has now happened 5 times. Always 1:15 a.m. Always the same man, same hoodie. Once I thought I saw him out by the pumps, just standing there when there were no cars around. Another time, I swear I heard whispering coming from the bathroom, even though no one was inside. Last night, I locked the front door as soon as I saw headlights. Sure enough, it was him. He stood outside the glass door for a solid minute, staring in at me. His eyes looked almost white this time. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I was going to faint. Then he smiled. First time he's ever shown any expression. Just this slow, crooked smile. And then he walked away into the darkness of the road. I called the sheriff's department after that. They sent a deputy who searched the area but didn't find anyone. They told me it was probably some local messing with me. But I don't think so. I don't think he's, normal. And I don't know what I'm going to do tonight when 1:15 rolls around. I want to start this off by saying at the time I'm writing this happened to me just last night. I work the overnight shift at a 24-hour gas station. I'm a 22-year-old female, and I've been working there just shy of 2 months. It's usually dead at night. Most of the time, my only visitors are truckers and people on road trips passing through. Around 2:30 a.m. last night, a silver sedan pulled up to pump 3. 2 men got out. Both looked to be in their 30s, both wearing dark jackets. One of them went inside while the other stayed by the car. The guy who came in grabbed a soda and a bag of chips, came to the counter, and started making small talk. Something about him instantly set me on edge. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and his eyes kept darting over my shoulder toward the back room. He asked me if I was there alone. I lied and said no, that my coworker was in the back doing inventory. He gave a little laugh like he didn't believe me. While I was ringing him up, I noticed the other man by the car wasn't pumping gas. He was just standing there, looking at the building. I tried to stay calm. I swiped the card and handed him his stuff. He lingered at the counter, asking random questions. How late we're open, for 24 hours. What time my shift ends. Do we have a restroom? His eyes kept flicking toward the door like he was waiting for something. Finally, he went out. The 2 of them stood by the car for a minute, talking. Then they both came back inside together. My stomach dropped. The second man walked slowly down the aisle, pretending to look at snacks. The first one leaned on the counter, staring at me. He asked again if I was alone. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely hold the scanner. I lied again and said my coworker was in the restroom. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of the back door creaking. Except the back door is always locked, and no one else was there. The man in the aisle turned his head sharply at the sound, then back at me. He smiled. I told them the bathroom was out of order and they had to leave. My voice was shaking. The first man tilted his head like he was listening. Then, very slowly, they both walked back out to the car. I locked the door behind them and went into the back to grab my phone. I called 911. While I was on the phone, I peeked through the side window. The silver sedan was still there, engine running, lights off. They just sat there. The dispatcher told me to stay inside, keep the doors locked, and an officer would be there soon. It felt like forever. At one point, the passenger door opened, and one of the men got out. He walked to the side of the building, out of view of the window. I ran to the back room and locked that door too. I could hear footsteps on the gravel outside, and then silence. I don't know how long I sat there holding the phone, heart pounding. Finally, blue and red lights flashed across the window. The car peeled out of the lot before the officer even got out of his vehicle. The cop took my statement, looked at the security footage, and told me they'd patrol the area for the rest of the night. I didn't sleep when I got home. I keep seeing that smile. I keep thinking about how they knew I was alone, how they kept asking, how one of them went out of sight of the cameras. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't lied about someone else being there.